You're looking at a live shot right now from Prince George's County. Vice President Mike Pence will speak later tonight at the annual Conservative Political Action Conference. CPAC is taking place out at National Harbor. President Trump will speak on Friday. Earlier in the day, several members of the Trump administration spoke to the gathering of political and religious conservatives.
But there are a couple of benchmarks.
The country was hungry for something far bigger than one story or one-off issue. It was something that people wanted in this country that was real and something that was going to change the direction that we were heading, and it was President Trump, but that was the answer.
The reason Reince and I are good partners is that we can disagree. It's not only not going to get better, it's going to get worse every day in the media. Here's why it's going to get worse. Because he's going to continue to press his agenda. And as economic conditions get better, as more jobs get better, they're going to continue to fight. If you think they're going to give you your country back without a fight, you are sadly mistaken.
One thing that's been a little bit disappointing and revealing is that I hope will get better is turns out there are a lot of women who just have a problem with women in power.
We've got your back, Kellyanne. We've got President Trump's back as well.
As activists fighting for liberty, fighting for the Constitution, y'all are incredibly important. You are incredibly important, number one, in shocking and terrifying the mainstream media.
That was some of the sound from the CPAC gathering. Right now, we've got Siraj Hashmi. He's assistant editor for Red Alert Politics, the online publication of Young Conservatives. He's been following the speeches, talking to attendees. He joins us live from National Harbor. Siraj, I got to ask you, what do you think the highlights were? What did you hear? Who stood out?
Some of the biggest highlights are actually Senator Ted Cruz saying that he praised Harry Reid, the retiring senator from Nevada and former minority leader for the Democrats, for basically pushing forward on the nuclear option that allowed President Trump to push forward on his nominees. Instead of getting 60 votes, they only have to get 51 votes in the Senate. And then, of course, Steve Bannon and Reince Priebus, both close aides, Reince Priebus being the chief of staff to President Trump in the White House, and Steve Bannon, who is the chief strategist in the White House. Both of them had a sit-down kind of Q&A, I believe, with a radio host. And essentially, it kind of quelled a lot of the rumors that there was tension going on between the two amid a lot of reports from several Washington news sources saying that the two staffs were really going at it. Rather, they shared their vision about the Trump administration, and that, I think that a lot of cohesion was actually seen here.
Yeah, Siraj, let me ask you about that, Bannon and Priebus. Man, Bannon seemed to throw the gauntlet down, unlike Priebus. He says, you know, we're at war, we're at, at battle, with past administrations, with the media, with the world. I mean, what'd you make of all that?
Well, Steve Bannon he's more the nationalist populist. He has that type of vision. And again, he is the former CEO of Breitbart. He was a radio host. I mean, he is not known for his sort of diplomacy, whereas Reince Priebus, who is known for getting in front of a camera all the time and saying things in a diplomatic way, you just don't get that with Steve Bannon. Reince Priebus is more of an establishment Republican who's known as trying to be as diplomatic as possible. You saw it during the 2016 Republican primary. I mean, he had to try to negotiate between 16 and 17 presidential candidates and basically be objective to all of them. Okay. Whereas Steve Bannon, he will tell you like it is.
Yeah. Let me fast forward. Okay, the president's going to address this group tomorrow. He has not always been the darling of this group. I mean, at one time he had to take himself out of the picture. They didn't want to hear from him. So what's likely to be the reception tomorrow? And has Donald Trump become the force, the leader of this group, all GOP conservatives?
I think at this point, I mean, he's the president of all Americans, not just the Republicans and conservatives who voted for him. Right now, what we're seeing is President Trump did more to unite the conservative party than nearly every single person that ever ran for president over the last 2 years. And really, they have no one else to thank because they now can push forward on their policy agenda. and push conservatism onto into the legislative domain. Really, they should be thanking him as much as they possibly can, and that's probably the sentiment here at CPAC.
Yeah, Siraj, thanks a lot for that, and you're absolutely right. I think we're going to see how grateful they are when he addresses this group tomorrow. Siraj Hashmi, he's assistant editor of Red Alert Politics. Thanks a lot for that. We'll check in again with you tomorrow.